Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Safe Room. I'm your host, the President Sean Williams, and today's number of the day is 75. And you're probably wondering why it's 75. Well, because the weather in one place could be 75 degrees. That's a fair point. 75 maybe because it's the NBA's 75th anniversary. That's another thing too. But the number 75 because this is the 75th episode of the Safe Room. 75, guys, take it in. Like, really take it in. We are on the countdown to 100 now. It's officially on. And for it being the 75th episode, I had to get two amazing brothers. I had to get these two guys here. Listen, it's been in the making for a while. But now that they're here, look, it's about to go down. We're about to talk our shit. We're about to get into it. I got from the Hustle Over Everything podcast. These two guys are giving the best content. These two guys are just bringing everything when it comes to business, entrepreneurship, the conversations, going out there and having these conversations, outreaching everyone. They have been doing this for a while now, and now like it's time to give them their respect, okay? And that's why they're here. I'm here to give them respect. Stop playing with them. I got Alex, I got Owen, my mans. How are you guys doing?
Yo, man. Great intro, man. Thank you for like the toast. And yo, man, 75, man. Big ups to you. We remember 75th episode and a quarter way there to 100. We did it big for 100th episode, man. Massive party, popping bottles, man. Like, you got to celebrate some way big, Sean, bro. So I want to see you do it big on your 100th episode because it's a milestone, man. You even said it earlier. Not everyone makes it past 10 episodes. Your friends have been clowning you, like thinking, bro, like I can start a pod, bro. Let's take our WhatsApp chat and make it into a show. But it doesn't happen like that. You and I know, Alex knows. So congrats to you once again for 75th, man. And I'm honored to be here.
Same, man. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the intro. Let's talk, bro.
Let's talk that shit, man. What do we got on the table, Sean?
Look. We got a lot. We got a lot on the table. Now, I definitely want to talk about your guys' podcast first before we get into the juicy things because I feel like if we get into the juicy things, I might start ranting. That's a fair warning right now to everyone listening. I will rant because listen, anytime something gets under my skin, I just gotta say it. But before we get into all of that, we need to talk about your podcast, Hustle Over Everything, because I'm a listener, I am a fan, I love your guys' conversations. Like I literally wait on it. Like every single week, I'm like, all right, I'm waiting on Alex and Owen to drop. Like I'm just waiting on it. So I just want to get right into it. So your podcast, like, why did you want it to be in terms of the conversation centered around business and entrepreneurship? What was it about that direction that said, you know what, this is what we want to approach it as, and we want our listeners to gain the best, information, content, tips, advice, whatsoever? Why was that the direction you guys wanted to go into? And whoever wants to start, go ahead.
Yeah, so Hustle of Everything originally started by it was just me, Sean. I was podcasting solo dolo, and I was actually reaching out to entrepreneurs to get them on the show. Alex and I went to school together. We had, I think 2 or 3 classes, maybe 1. And I've always known Alex around campus. When you're at Ted Rogers School of Management, this was part of like when it was still Ryerson University. Like, you'll know every black person within the business program. And I met Alex at a party then, so I'm on campus, and we just became friends over time. Like, I'd help him out if he forgot he wasn't in class. I'll get him his notes, vice versa. Alex was like creating, he was like in the early stages of his digital marketing business, and I had no one on the show to speak about digital marketing or even starting a service-based business. So I was an entrepreneur myself, starting different things in uni. And I was like, man, like, I think it'll be great to have Alex on the show to talk about like building his agency and like how that is. And I was naturally curious about it just because I'm like, I hear a lot of people do agency. So I'm like, this might make money some way, somehow, like, doing ads for people. We did the show together, and, just as boys, you're chatting it up and like just vibes, like just, it didn't even feel like a podcast. Sometimes I have to like navigate the show, but at that point I just like yielded and just like let the things roll. And I think I walked back home that and I was like, man, that was a proper quality conversation. And I knew I had aspirations of making this podcast bigger and growing it into a bigger platform. So I sat on it for about like 3 weeks, and I hit up Alex. I was like, hey bro, like let's link up at the library. I want to propose something to you, whatever. So Alex pulls up to the SLC. We sit down at the very top floor, which is like where like everybody sits at when you're really looking to study, but you're not that serious about studying. It's just like you just like flipping through notes, but you still want to be social. So we link up, paint the vision. I was like, hey, like I think we can really create a great podcast talking about business, helping people grow in their personal lives. And you know, Alex, he had a podcast. I let him speak on that, and you know what led him to join me in this podcast and roll with it together. But you know, we're just entrepreneurs, Sean. You know, we've been at it, we've been in the trenches, and we really wanted to do something different, like that captures the voice of like two black men talking about business and shining a light on that aspect, because usually we get drifted into sports, entertainment, culture. So we really wanted to niche down and like talk about business, and we loved business as it is. So it just seemed like a great fit for us. And from that on point forward, we started like making shows, and here we are like 137 episodes deep now, from the time we started. So it's been a blessing so far.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
On my end, it's very similar to what Owen was saying. After the podcast, I was like, man, this is dope. Like, we should partner together. And I was working on a podcast previously. You know, I had one that was called The Practice. You know, it was like a Allen Iverson themed podcast. And I started interviewing entrepreneurs. I interviewed Chinedu Asmeredi from the Chinedu CE Clothier. I interviewed Chantal Dubois, who has like a big fitness company here in Toronto. And I was just like starting to get my footing, but it was something wasn't clicking. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So whenever I had the podcast with Owen, we just did it, and it felt natural. You know what I'm saying? So like, man, this could really be something. You know, we could really grow this into something real. So that's when we both approached each other actually. So he wanted to approach me for the new pod, and I wanted to approach him. So I was like, oh, perfect. Like,
the stars aligned, man.
Exact same thing. Yeah, exactly. So, we just hopped on and started doing it. You know, pause, and then the ball started rolling. Started getting some really cool guests on, and things have just been blossoming since. You know, we've had some cool sponsors as well, and now we're just looking to take it to the next level as a podcast. You know, and as a media company. So. Yeah.
Well, much respect to both of you. I did not know that you two have kind of like, you were doing your separate paths, and then like just by fate it's like, hey, I want to get this person, and you know, it's just kind of linked in together. My assumption is that you guys were like from the jump, like, yeah, these are probably like two brothers that just grew up and just like, hey, yeah, you know what, we're both passionate about something, let's just go. But like, no, that's an interesting, you know, story, especially how you guys came together. And I love how before it was like, you know what, I was doing some form of like podcasting before as well. It wasn't just like, oh, I had my stuff, and then it kind of turned into like, let's start a podcast, you know. And like we mentioned before, we were having that conversation before we started recording, how again, when you're starting a podcast, it's so, well, for us, like, we know the experience, but for a lot of people, everyone assumes that, oh, we can just sit in front of a mic and speak. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not that easy. Like, I don't know how many times we got to tell you.
Sean, bro, you nailed it right on the head, man. And even you as a solo podcaster, that's even the more tough thing, is I used to do solo shows, and I enjoy doing solo shows, but imagine just being in a room right there, just talking to yourself, and just like, imagine someone looking in there and just like, yo, that looks pretty weird. You know what I'm saying? And as well, like lugging equipment, trying to do a camera podcast, trying to do a video podcast. Especially at the time, I was like doing it in the SLC, which is the Ryerson Student Learning Center, and trying to like stand up, because these cameras I had didn't even record past 20 minutes. Like, I had to be able to listen for the flash so I can go press record again. And I was trying to do like multiple angles, and I was just like a one-man show. So I got like 30 or I think 20 something episodes deep, just rolling like that. And just fate brought it, just like, yo, like, let me just bring another co-host. I was like, who do I think will be? And Alex was number one on my list, just the experience we had on the Making a Service Business podcast. And yeah, man, like, solo, if you're a solo podcaster, it's tough. It is very tough. Like, you need a squad for
Hey,
if,
yo,
if you're taking it
guys.
serious. But if it's a hobby, sure, you can make it work.
Nah, guys, the last 3 years, I'm the host. I'm the producer. I'm the editor. I'm the one that makes all the posts. That's all me, guys. At this point, I feel like I should have gray hair. Like, I don't know how
You've aged,
my
bro.
hair is, like, still black.
You age like Obama, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, the guy came into the presidency with like pristine black hair, and by the time he's done, bro, like he was just like he was beat up. He looked like a prune, man.
Nah, man, no joke, no joke. But no, that's really great to hear. And you guys kind of answered like my second question of like the bond you guys share. Like, it's amazing again how you guys just came together. And Owen, you mentioned I think one of the podcasts, Let's Make a Service Business podcast, I believe.
Yeah, it's called building a service-based business.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's episode either 26, 27 from what I can remember. Yeah, it's either in the mid 20s or like early 30s.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Cool. So I just want to ask you guys about your process as well, because I know, like you mentioned before, how you guys came together. Now, once you actually started to put the commitments, like, okay, let's take hustle over everything and turn it into something really special. Did the process change for you guys? Because let's say, again, you guys were like solo podcasters. You had your own structure, your own style, and now coming together, it's like, there might be elements of what we did individually that we have to change because now, we're co-partners. So that means, there's a lot of levels of teamwork, communication. So how was the changes during that process? What were some of the modifications that you found were like, okay, we were able to groove into it a little bit easier, but other times it's like, shit, this is hard. Like, damn.
Yeah, no, there's definitely there's a learning curve, I think, but we both come from working in startups and in that environment, so I think we kind of try to adapt that to the podcast. Like I've been using Slack, like we use Google Drive like anybody else, you know what I'm saying? So like there was that. We definitely like started building the show out in terms of like having segments, having like place, all right, you go for this part, you go for that part, you do this, you do that. I kind of like balanced out the different elements of the show. So that kind of helped like communicate. So we knew what we were adding to it, you know what I'm saying, and like define specific roles. And one thing that we made sure we did is like leave our egos at the door, and that's been really big. Is that just like, all right, hey, if you can't get this done, I'll get it done. I can get this done, you can get it done. You know what I'm saying? And just like making sure we leave our egos at the door and be able to communicate with each other. If I'm not liking something, we have that space where you can just go and talk, and just plan it out. And same with Owen's side, so we have that open communication where you can keep it a buck, That's one of the things that I think is a necessity, because naturally you can harbor things, especially when you're in the professional, well, not even the professional, but like when you're on a platform, you naturally want to keep up like the energy of that space. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have a space where you can talk, or else things will fester.
Right.
So that I think that's it's a big thing. So yeah, that's one thing I could say. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Like, I think when we started early first, it was an adjustment, right, Sean? Because you have your own method, you have your own way of building a show out. Like, I had a different structure. Alex, like I don't think he ever released the episodes he did, so I never really knew his style of podcasting. But I think when we joined together, there was definitely, first and foremost, you're recording over Zoom, right? So it's not like the same in-person thing again. So
Right.
to discuss something and have a natural flow of a conversation, because this is when the pandemic hit. So we're dropping Zoom interviews all the time. So to really understand like the dynamic, the chemistry, the cadence was one of the more important things. And it took us some time to really figure it out. But we really hit our stride, I think, once we started touching in the 80s and 90s, and the 100s has just been butter. Like, Alex, I know he opens a show, he introduces it. I have my ways of doing little things. I'll say some corny things on the show. Like Alex, he likes to talk about digital marketing. Like he finds different angles, so I know that's gonna come up. He knows I'm gonna bring up sports references. He knows I'm gonna crack like this funny joke. It's like a dad joke. Like this is the dynamic that we've built so far, and it just works for
Right.
us. And yeah, but it was obviously a tough transition, but it's like a turbulent thing. It's not like really like, oh my god, Alex, this is hard, but it's like you feel it, you're working through it, and we're gonna make it work one way or one or the other. And ultimately, Sean, man, it just comes through practice. Practice is the name of this game, man. And it just came from yesterday too. Like we were just recording on Monday, and we're just like, bro, let's record an intro into this. And it was supposed to be like a 10-minute, maybe even 5-minute conversation to record an ad for the all black market, and it turned into like a 30-minute show, just because we're just pros like that now. When you're doing this for such a long time, you put a mic in front of you, you know how to concoct a conversation out of nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I feel you. And like, again, like you mentioned, like when you've been doing this for a long time, you keep acknowledging like, okay, I have to improve on something and I need to step up my game, then it becomes where once you get to that point, it's like, all right, this is like muscle memory. It's like I can remember it and like it's stuck in my brain. And again, if I need to do any modifications or something changes where I didn't expect it, I know how to wing it or work on the fly. So I definitely hear a testament to what you're saying, Owen. And Alex, you mentioned about leaving egos at the door. I think that's such an important aspect because a lot of people forget that, sure, when you start a podcast, it could be fun, but especially if you're working with a collective of people, there's definitely going to be like a hierarchy, because sometimes you'll be like, all right, let's say there's like a group of like 5 or 6 people. There might be that one person like, okay, they're the star of the show. Like they're getting all the, attention. That's
They're
what
the
people
Joe
are here
Budden.
for. Hey, no lie. And then maybe you have like your 2 they're like everyone knows, but like, they kind of play second fiddle. And maybe there's like that one person like no one gives a shit about. But that person assumes like, oh, it's all collected though. But then like, you don't get that sense. No one gets that vibe, even if you're the listener or even if you're the collective itself. Maybe they just look at you just like, yeah, that person's just there, or like they're part of it, but like, eh.
Who you talking about, bro? Put some
Oh
names
no,
on it.
believe me, I'm not dropping anything. This is just an example, but no, but what I'm trying to like get across, trust me, guys, I'm not trying to stir the pot or like cause any drama. I heard.
I'm messing with you.
Yeah, it's all love, man. But no, I definitely hear that sometimes when you're working together as a team, you want to make sure that your ego is not trying to overtake. It's just like, well, let's be real. I mean, like, if I'm not able to get my stuff out, then like, what's the point of working together? Where it's like, we as podcasters, like, we kind of represent ourselves as like another form of like, like the new media in today's society. Like, we're the ones trying to give information, pump out all this, content out so people can hear these things, they can take it with them, and it's all about information literacy. Like from that information, what can you do with it? How can you apply it with your daily life? And I think for you guys, from your conversation, I think that's a true testament of you guys bring in all these entrepreneurs, all these people who run businesses, organizations, and for someone who may want to do a startup, it's like, okay, you know what? I learned something about that. I learned something about digital marketing. I learned something about, this aspect of the business that I didn't know so far. And I think that's what I really appreciate about you guys. You guys are just like creating such a strong niche for your audience that everyone can walk away and say, these guys like really mean what they say. And it's not because like, it's for show or, they're just bored and like this is just something that they were able to bond to together. It's like from their conversations, they want to be heard and they want their audience, they want their listeners to take something away from it as well. So
Absolutely.
I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'm curious, Sean. What's you say you've been a long time listener of the Hustle Over Everything podcast. What episode to you stands out that we've ever done?
Shoot, there's a couple. I think my favorite ones are like the wild card ones that you guys do. There's so many, but like I might have to like go back because like there's a couple that I've listened to. I think I'm trying to remember the first time I started listening to you guys, because like I will be honest, I wouldn't say I was like, oh, episode one and everything. Like it took me a while to find you guys, but I think I remember one time I was traveling to New York, and I think it was the first time like, you know what, let me listen to these guys because like they sound interesting. Actually, you know what, let me take the time to scroll down right now and see if I can find the episode, because like I don't want to leave you hanging off with that question. I definitely want to let
Of
you
course,
know.
man. And this is just me being curious because I want to see like what appeals to people and what appeals to you, because if you like that episode, I can already tell which episode you're going to be a fan of.
Okay, where was it? So it was episode 91. So it was building an e-commerce brand that converts seven figures.
Who was the guest?
Tori Rowe.
Tori?
To-
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think that one really stood out to me, especially like, the e-commerce brand, because that's something that I've been thinking in the back of my mind, but I think it's just like it's probably too early for me at the point. But I just like anytime I want to do something, I'll still take the initiative to, probably like do some research, and then I'll keep in the back of my mind. I'll probably take down notes so that way it's like, okay, once I start, I already have a good amount of knowledge sustained at the back of my head, so I can develop like a plan and everything. And I think for me, like that's something that I've wanted to like, lean towards more, especially into my podcasting career. I'm like 3 years in deep. Like I'm still relatively young. Like I'm still like a pup, like a baby in this. But it's
So are
Man,
we.
same here, bro. Like
So are we.
when you look at the other guys, you look at the titans of the industries. You got the Joe Buddens, especially if you're like comparing entertainment. The Andrew Schultz's, the Brilliant Idiots, Patrick Bet David's podcast. I don't know if you listen to other business shows, Sean, but those guys are huge, man. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's the glory of podcasting right there. You have millions of subscribers. You drop anything on YouTube, boom, you got a lot of interactions and comments on that. That's what we're working towards.
Yeah, no, you guys are like definitely like heading on the right trajectory for that. Because again, like I feel like every single time you guys are dropping an episode, like more people are getting to know your name, and like that's just a great sight to see. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that although there's a lot of podcasts out there, the podcast community in Toronto is still growing and still relatively like trying to find like its impact, into like just media in general, whether it's like social media, just media outlets like news and everything. So I feel like you guys are on the way. And another thing too, I think with podcasting in general, it's increased over the couple years, because I'm now starting to see that businesses are using that as like a strategy. Like if we need to promote our brand, like let's start a podcast. But again, it goes back to what we said earlier. Some people start a podcast and then they don't really actually put in the effort and the commitment. It's just more of like we're just doing it for fun, or if it's more of like marketing techniques just to get more people to engage with our content or with our stuff, which I mean that can go either way. Maybe it does work, other times it's a bust. So
Absolutely, man.
yeah, man, so it really depends. But I do want to get into the main segment, to the main part why we are here now. If you guys were living under a rock, which probably would have been the case based on what I'm about to say, because so last week I woke up knowing that it was going to be a lovely day. I was supposed to drop an episode on that Friday, but it came out the next day. Was that I had no internet connection, I had no cell service, and that was because Rogers telecommunication service, it basically it stopped. It completely stopped. Just deleted, shut down, cancel, whatever, what name you want to use, whatever concept you want to use it. And it was not just like across Toronto or even across Ontario, across Canada. So the whole country was suffering, and all Rogers users you're going through the bad. Now, I just want to make it out right now. I don't know if it applied to any Bell users, anyone who was using TELUS or anything. From what I heard, they seemed to be fine. It didn't affect them as much. But mostly if you were a Rogers user, myself, you were screwed. I literally figured out the news when I had to leave my house. and head to the mall just to catch some Wi-Fi from the library that they have. Like I was literally just standing out there, and I was able to figure out the news. Like, oh shoot, like it was a major outage too. And it wasn't just like simply self-service or internet, but even Interact was acting up where debit card services were down, and I think that one might have hurt me the most because imagine if you're going out and maybe you need to use your card for something important and like you can't. It's like you literally got to go find like a bank or an ATM at best to like probably do that. And even when I went to find ATM, it still wasn't working. So it's like unless you got hard cold cash, then good luck trying to purchase something.
Man, Sean, like I dodged the Rogers whole debacle, bro. Cause you know what happened, right? So I had a couple meetings lined up in the morning for work, and I log on, and on Slack you can see who's online.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like looking at people's like statuses, like offline. Like I'm seeing a lot of emojis beside people's names. I'm like, yo, what the hell is going on here? Like, is it a holiday? Is it a work holiday that I didn't know about? And I think this started on a Friday, right? It was a Friday that everything went down. So I'm thinking, oh man, maybe it's an American holiday. I log on to Twitter. My internet's working. My phone is working, and I see Rogers at the top of the tab, right? And I'm like, power, like Rogers, everything is off. So no internet, no cell phone service. And I went to LCBO, and I just dodged it by the nick of time because I wanted to get some drinks, because I wanted just to like make some tequila, have some drinks just after work. And they're all like not really taking any Interact, but I had like a MasterCard, but they're still accepting MasterCard. So I feel like I was going through like this whole day without even feeling any pinch. And some people were out of it for like, I think till like the end of Saturday, right? Because every text I was sending, it was turning green, because I'm on iPhone, right? Everything was turning green. I'm trying to call someone, I can't reach them. Or maybe they get my text, they text me back, but there's no notification with it for some reason. But it just goes to show you like how companies like Rogers, LCBO, especially here in Canada, right? Like we don't think we have any monopolies, but like these companies like really, really run the industry. Like Air Canada, like they run Canadian Airlines. Like LCBO, like until like recently, we just got liquor in grocery stores.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Mm-hmm. No,
And
I feel you.
it's so like un-Canadian to do such a thing, right? Because we belong in a free enterprise, right? Like Rogers runs everything. So it really showcased as entrepreneurs, like there's an opportunity here to create something that, what Rogers, this is happening to Rogers, like we can create our own network. We can do our own thing where we feel like we don't have to rely on Rogers, because that was like a rude awakening for everybody.
Right. And like you mentioned like monopolies again. So because Rogers has all these like relationships with all these other companies, like once one of their services go down, then it's going to have a chain reaction where like other things are not going to work. So because I think my first reaction about the whole debit card service, I'm like, how the hell is Interact down?
Yeah, that was pretty weird, eh?
Right, because I'm like, it's not even about why are Rogers and Interact like in like cohesion. I think it's more of like, when did that happen? And that's the scariest part to me, because it's like there are so much relationships and negotiations from a lot of these like multi-giant corporations that may not even be covered on the news all the time, or maybe if it does, but it doesn't get that much coverage to be talked about. So then it literally is like, it comes down to moments like this where like, oh shoot, there's no service, just to figure out like, hold up, Rogers and Interact were in this together, or like they're shaking hands and stuff.
Bro,
it's like
backdoor deals, man. It's backdoor deals. Like I feel like we're living in an era like where everything is like backdoor deals. Like everything gets exposed in the light. Like when shit goes wrong, that's when you see like, man, these were like the dead bodies in the closet. And I was actually surprised by that as well, Sean, man. Like how's Interact, like what do they have to do with Rogers? Is there like another division of Rogers that's not consumer facing that they run? Which is also a little bit scarier, right? Because what other things do they really operate that, we're using that makes them like completely, they are movable, bro. Like they, especially in the Canadian market, especially, you know what I mean? So that was like a great insight just to see man, if no one else is doing it, like maybe there's other companies that are doing such things that we don't even know about, and Rogers just like, bro, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, no, for real. Alex, I don't know if you want to like jump in and like give your take on it.
Now, Owen said exactly what I was feeling, man. Like, it's crazy how much power Rogers has, and it honestly showcased how many oligopolies are among us. And the thing is too is that what fail safes do we have in society? How strong is Rogers' back end? You know what I'm saying? Like, if a team of hackers wanted to go through Rogers, how hard would that really be? Like how fragile is our society? Do you think that Bell and Rogers have that security system that is ironclad? Do you guys think that? Honestly, I personally don't. Like I feel like if a team of hackers from China was like, you know what, today we're coming for Canada. Honestly, I think they could honestly knock us down, and that scares me a little bit.
It's just the brand, bro. Like the brand they have is just super strong. Like you hear everything Bell, Rogers, Bell Let's Talk, Rogers Arena, where the Blue Jays plays. Like, is it Rogers Stadium or Rogers Center, right?
Yeah.
Like they just run everything. And that man, Alex, you might be onto something there, man. Like maybe their protection, their wall isn't as big as we think it is. Like they're definitely movable.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Alex, because I legit was hearing rumors from everyone saying that, yo, did the Russians hack us or something? Like, I kid you not, people were legit thinking that. And I think one thing I figured out was that I think Rogers, Bell, and Telus, like, they own, like, majority in terms of, like, the telecommunication market in terms of, like, how much, like, concentration they have. It's, like, close to 90%. So, like, when you talk about, competition out there, it's just, like, there is none. Because even if there's, like, a limit of, like, barriers to entry, it's still, like, bro, you're gonna have to, like, blow up overnight and, like, be an actual, like, threat to companies like Rogers to actually, see some change. Because to them, it's just kind of like, oh, just another business, we can just kind of use as, we can buy them in, make them a subsidiary, just kind of like, all right, we own these people now, too. We'll just put one into our collection. So, no, it's a scary thing to see, and I think from that outage, a lot of people were starting to like wake up to that. I mean, I kind of knew about this from the jump, how Rogers could like act in this way. I'm pretty sure you guys had the same mentality, like, this isn't really new, because like we see this a lot in business and like just a lot in the market. That's how people operate to survive. If you ain't got that mentality where you're trying to like take over everything, then most likely you're going to fall. You're going to crumble and you're going to be shut down in a matter of moments. But I think for me as well, just to kind of even go more into detail about the outage, from just an individual perspective, a lot of people were like so shook that it felt like we were living in a different reality. It was like a different like dystopia. Like people were literally walking outside, like looking around the corners of like every street, thinking to themselves like,
man, think about it. Like, what are you doing
on?
when you're sitting down in the washroom, bro? Like, what are you looking at? Right? Like, we actually had to go back and start reading shampoo bottles, bro. It's been a minute since I've done that. It might have been like entertaining for someone to like, like, I don't know if you guys did this, but like when I was a kid, I'd be just, before I even had a phone, I'd be chilling in the bathroom, sitting down there doing my business, and I just start taking like body wash bottles. Like, I wonder what goes into this thing. Like, what's the ingredient here? And I'm just looking at the wall, like, man. Like, when did they build this house? Like, this is when I was living in a townhouse, by the way. So my thoughts just go like everywhere, right? And I think it brought a lot of people back to their senses as human beings, because naturally, like, we're always like looking down like this, like looking at our phones. Like, there's not a moment you can go by without even just like picking up. Like, you might even hear a buzz or anything, but you're just like picking it up just to look at like at your phone. So I listened to a couple podcasts, especially like Raptor podcasts. I follow a couple guys who make basketball shows locally, and a lot of them were actually pretty happy that it happened, funny enough, because they were unplugged, they did nothing, they went to the park, they got food, they met up with friends in the area. So it actually brought like this human element back to life, where we're not really run by technology. where you can just like, I'm not worried about making that phone call. I'm not worried about sending that email. I'm actually just living for living as like at my core essence as a human. And that was beautiful to hear about. And for majority of the people I know, they weren't even that mad. I think they were kind of glad they got an escape for like a 24 to 48 hours.
Okay, so okay, okay, Alex. I'm gonna let you say your thing, Alex, because I have something to just say after that. If you want to jump in.
Sure. One of the things that really like took me aback was seeing kids ride their bikes. Like I had not seen kids like 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds just riding around. Now, if you see someone riding the bike, it's usually like someone in their like late 20s riding a bike. For the first time in a while, I've seen kids ride their bike, gallivanting around, and that was refreshing to see from, the outage. So it had its pluses and minuses. What really sucked was seeing businesses not be able to take purchases. That was really like what sucked. I could see like mom and pops
Right.
like low key frantic, like what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? That was the only thing that was the plus of it, of like being able to disconnect. But it really sucked for the mom and pops like that weren't used to I couldn't take cash because their cash registers were all on Rogers. So that was one thing that sucked. Or seeing like bakeries just give their food for free because they know it's gonna go bad, so they just give it away for like 50% off or something like that. I took advantage of that. My girl got
You
a
got some
cinnamon bun.
pastries.
I got,
Yo.
you know what I'm saying?
No jokes.
I had a ice cat for cheap, but other than that, like it's good to disconnect, but at the same time, I was just nervous for a lot of these businesses, man. Like a lot of people work so hard building it up just to have it like crumble under an oligopoly, like.
No, like it does really suck. And then like imagine if you're just going out and like your parents are just stressed. Like you can't call, you can't text saying where you're at.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Facts.
pressure because like
Yeah.
I already come, like my parents are very protective about me even when I call or text. Like if it could be I call them like 10 times in like the span of 2 hours, they'll still be like, be careful, don't trust people, or like just know you're surrounded. So if I went out and had no service to even call or text me, I kid you not, they would probably call 911. Like no joke. And even a funnier thing too, I believe for some people when they tried to call 911, that wasn't even working for them. So let's say something happens and like it's an emergency. Like in that moment, you can't call 911. Like I feel like for me, I'm like one of the lucky ones because like where I live, there's like literally like a station, like a precinct right there from where I live. So it's like okay, even if I don't have 911, I could probably just run down there. But for someone else, like it's a scary situation. It really is. And to Owen, what you were saying about how for a lot of people it felt good for them to go outside and experience that break. I agree, but I will also say this: if it takes something where there's a huge outage and that pulls you away from like that technology, from being on your phone, your laptop, just for you to express your human side, to me that's a little sad because it's like, damn, bro, like you're telling me if like when you have everything, when you have the services and all that, you tell me you can't just step away from your phone for one moment and say, you know what, like
Sean, bro, like listen, it's a lot harder than what you're making it seem to be, because at the core of it, we've been programmed over the past like 15 years, like with technology, like on our laps. Like if you look at the decline of like having landlines in your house as a phone, like it's gone. Like the last time my family had a landline in our house was around 2011, like right when I was about to go to university, right? Because my mom got a cell phone, my dad got a cell phone, and that's everything that they do. So everything we do now, all our methods of communication, whether that's social media, email, this notification era, like has made us so like the dopamine hit we get when we get a notification just for anything has really like messed up our minds, right? So we're always like this notification hunting, and it's not like our fault, bro. It's just like what we do. It's like because we're always searching for the alert. Oh, did I miss that text? Did I get that DM back? Did I get that email? So we're so reliant on this like hit of like once we see something pop up that it really transcends who we are as humans, and that's what we're relying upon now because it's programmed over time. So to like say someone, bro, unplug, like you legit have to take a conscious effort to do that. You have to say, you know what, I know I got work to do, I know I gotta respond to that text, but you know what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take a walk by the water and just sit there and just stare into oblivion. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah.
It takes that effort, but not everybody has that luxury because now I can sit on TikTok and get dopamine hit after dopamine hit just watching funny videos, and an hour and a half has passed because we're searching for that entertainment. So it's really challenging just to like say I'm gonna take some time off to do that, because when you're surrounded by all this like hyper, you know, like excitement over everything, it's easy just to get warped into it.
Nah, no. And I'm actually really glad you said that, Owen, because like I was kind of hoping you said that because that's what I'm trying to get across. It's like I wish it didn't take like a situation like the Rogers outage for people to step away, but again, it's so hard to just like, shut down your
Bro,
computer, shut down
yeah,
your laptop, and just like everything, and just like actually go outside and just like take it in. Even for me, like I'm even saying that because like for me, like I have so much work to do, and like I need to have like my phone and my laptop to do so. Like I'm not
yeah.
really like a social media guy like that, but if I'm taking a break, I might be on my phone a couple times. But I'm starting to tell myself, you know what, maybe I should try to step away from my technological devices. Whether it's like I'll do an exercise like for 1 or 2 hours, then that's cool. If I just sit down outside my place and just just
Zone out.
taking everything, exactly, zone out. But I definitely get your testament. I even made an episode, like a short episode, talking about how we need technology. In a sense, we need it because based on the society and its structure today, it's like you actually can't go without it. Maybe it was like 20 years ago you could take a chance, but like now, that's just how the makeup
Man,
of
you
everything is.
can do it. And going back to what Alex was saying, right? So imagine those kids, because when we grew up as kids, right, we were like we looked at the firebox, like the electrical box, and we see all the bikes parked over there. Like that's what we know. Okay, that's the hangout spot, right? But now you have kids being born, like they're walking around with iPads. You feel me? Like everyone, these
Yeah.
kids have iPads. They don't know what it's like to like link up and like play hide and go seek or play cops and robbers. They don't know that experience. So all they know is a freaking touchscreen. From even like the little mini games before they even know what an iPad is. Like they're using those as learning tools. Like we had to learn math multiplication tables by using that little it's like a bar with like different things. You can move this, you can move
Oh,
three,
yep. Mhm.
exactly, right? Or you have a multiplication table. Okay, 4 times 4. Okay, boom, 4. Okay, yo, right there. So, and now when did the social media era start? That was like 2004, 2005. So these kids are now like 18 years old, and all they've known is iPhone, tablet, and these kids are just like coming out of university. They're coming into university now, bro. So like that's the next wave of people. We can be like labeled as like old school guys like in a couple of years because, oh, you guys used to do that, like, or even if you bring such a concept of linking up with the electrical box, people are gonna look at you weird.
Hey, yo.
For
Honestly, I mean,
sure. For
yeah,
sure.
facts. Damn.
Alex, you're gonna
Damn.
say something there?
Yeah. No, no, go ahead. I was just agreeing with
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yeah. No,
Go
for
ahead, Sean.
real. I think overall, from my take with this whole Rogers thing, for me, I think what was really daunting was the aftermath because basically Rogers, they were getting a lot of criticism. People were saying that this was unacceptable,
Mm-hmm.
and for that, they said that they were willing to give an amount of credit back to customers. Now, I could be quoting it wrong, but I wanted to make sure, so I checked a couple of sources. I believe they said that they would be giving back about close to maybe in the range of like $3 to $6 in the span of over 5 days, and a lot of people reacted in a very like concerning way because everyone thought $6, like $3 to $6, is that what we deserve after almost sitting an entire day and a little bit more with no service, nothing, having people worried, sick? Then like you can keep your credit. So like again, I think now the question now becomes like how much like hot water do you think Rogers is in? Even though like they're offering him to give back all this credit, do you still feel like a lot of customers will not let this go? Maybe some people legit switch and say, you know what? Hey, yo, Bell's looking like a ting. Maybe I go hop with Bell, or like maybe it's just kind of like they're pressuring them, like, hey, if you don't do this, hey, you know, Telus is looking pretty nice. I'll just go to there. Them.
Exactly.
Facts. No, I'm switching. I'm going to fiber stream. So I'm pretty much done. I'm on Fido. The thing with this is like, how do they manage damages? Right? They're getting a class action lawsuit. So the real question is like, for instance, they're gonna give people $3 back in terms of the internet dollars, but how much dollars did I lose for the internet actually not functioning? Right? That's a lot harder to calculate. So a lot of people can get a lot of money from this, you know. So it's gonna be a tough time for Rogers, I think, for the next few years. Like their ads are gonna have to all change. You're gonna see like some apologetic ads. They can't say we're a reliable network anymore. Like all of that's gonna have to stop. You know what I'm saying? And their whole packages is probably gonna have to stop too. Like before, they used to be like, hey, get Rogers TV and phone and internet. Now that's like I can't go on no more. Like it's a different game that they're gonna have to be on. So it's gonna change the company dramatically. And Rogers is already a dying company on the media side, so it's gonna be tough for them once they don't have as much people to service on the service providing side through the internet. You know what I'm saying? Because if you think about it, like what Rogers media do you watch?
I just watched them.
No, Alex, I think you're absolutely right. Like, what does this do for them as a service provider now that with this whole situation, you know, it's made a turn, and I feel as well when you look at a company like Rogers, everyone is like looking at them like, okay, they need to do something, but I also see Rogers, they're doing this like, you know, giving the credit back for 5 days and such. It's them in a way that I coined the term. Well, I haven't coined the term. People have used the term, but I've kind of used it a lot. Is like being socially responsible. So like, what in a sense, it's like, okay, if this is something that protects or at least like covers our reputation a bit, or it doesn't hurt us that bad, then you know that's the direction we're going to. But when you actually look at the impact, is there going to be any externalities from it? Like, who's it actually going to hurt? They don't actually consider like, oh shoot, like even though this might protect us, you know, people are gonna have backlash. And again, a lot of people have been given backlash about like, again, $5, $6, and like you mentioned, Alex, it could be internet dollars, and maybe on the calculations could be something different. And I think a lot of people just want clarification because again, a lot of people are sitting there for 24 hours. Imagine 24 hours, you can't do nothing. You're basically useless. Like, you feel like half your life is gone. And it's like, bro, I get 5 bones. Like, dude, I can buy, like, I don't know, like a 2 for $5 at Burger King for that. Like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, what the hell is that, bro? Yo, bro, I think a lot of people, like, this is going to be a little bit different, but I think the switching cost for some people to go through leaving Rogers and getting a new number or getting a new package, I think about 70% of people are still gonna thug it out with Rogers. It's just like, no, trust me, bro. Some are gonna be like, whatever, it happens. Because think about it like this: no provider is bulletproof towards something like this. I think the positive thing is like this actually alarmed these other guys. This could happen to us. If it happened to Rogers, we gotta make sure our shit's in order because this thing could happen. And it doesn't mean just because you're ready and you're protected doesn't mean nothing else can happen which can hinder your customers from getting service. So I think people are gonna accept it. I don't think people are that pressed where they're gonna be like hooting and hollering once they've got internet. They're going back to their regular lives and they get their daily flow back of texting, calling, using internet and whatever. Of course they're mad. They're gonna get something from Rogers. At least they got something back. But I think Rogers, what they're doing is they're testing to see how much can I really give you for you to like be happy. You know what I'm saying? Because Rogers has dollars. They're a conglomerate. They have billions of dollars. Like, okay, what little can we give you just to shut you up but to keep you as a customer? But the more people push back, the more we're actually gonna see Rogers play more of their hand to really appease everybody. But I think from what I'm hearing, I mean, Alex, you're the first person I'm hearing that's switching, but from Twitter, I haven't heard anyone like really say I'm leaving Rogers or whatever. People are like, whatever happens, it happens.
Well, first thing, my internet, like the switching cost was $10. Installation was $10.
But to bring
And
someone
the
back in
package is
your
cheaper.
crib and get them do it, like that's just too much. That's a lot of work, bro.
Not really. For $10, it's like, all right, install it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it.
How true.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bro. Also, I think the biggest thing that Rogers is gonna have to face is the brand.
Yeah, that's
being
another brand.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Is that like when kids see this, they're gonna be like, which one I'm gonna go with, Bell or Rogers? Then they're gonna hurt, and that's gonna hurt them the most. Like their stock was down, you know what I'm saying? And there was people lined up, like there was lines outside of Bell, like trying to get into like the internet to switch. Like after like 6 hours, people were switching like that. You know what I'm saying? Because they needed to get the internet going, bro. Mine lasted all the way up to Monday.
Wow.
Like I was still, yeah, bro. So that's why I'm like, gone. So, and the thing is too is that it's not even this a two. It's just the trust, bro. Like once that happens not consistently, but once it happens once, I think people are gonna be all right. I have other options. And thing is too is that like Canadians are loyal until they see something cheaper. And Rogers wasn't cheap. That's the thing either. Rogers was one of the more expensive brands. When there's freedom for data on your phone, when there's fiber stream for a lot of condos downtown Toronto, and then when there's Telus, that's a lot cheaper. Bro, I think a lot of people are going to switch. What sucks about this the most, actually, is the fact that employees are going to suffer.
Yeah.
Because Rogers is going to have to cut back, and then employees are going to get fired because of this mishap, whichever it is. Let me ask y'all something. What's your biggest conspiracy theory? What do you think really happened?
They got hacked. That is my conspiracy. I'm like, listen, bro. They're telling you on the news like, oh, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. My ass, bro. My ass. Like technical difficulty for 24 hours. That's not technical difficulties. That is a conspiracy. Something's up. Like something is up. Now I know last year, what was it? The former CEO, he got booted, and then like the CFO at the time, he got moved to CEO, and like I heard he was like stressed at the time as well. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's some turmoil, but I'm also thinking like we haven't seen a lot of hacking. Like let's not forget, beginning of the year there was a whole issue where Instagram accounts were getting hacked like 24/7, and I'm thinking like, bro, like there's literally like this trend it's probably still going on. We don't know if like it's not being covered, but I'm like, yo, did the Russians actually get us this time? Like I was actually scared for my life. I'm like, yo, they better not touch my information or nothing. Listen, I was already hacked already, bro. I was already hacked. If they hack me a second time, it's on site. I'm flying to Russia and I'm gonna be like, yo, Putin, what's up? What's up?
One, bro. Talk to me nice.
Right.
I think you know that my conspiracy theory is I think it might have been like an employee who did it. Because think about it, man. Like who has access like that? Plotting, hacking. I mean, man, they have a lot to go through. But who has more access than anybody that might be looking for revenge? It might be I think my conspiracy theory is a disgruntled employee who has access to all these things can just flip of a switch at it and just cause a shitstorm in Canada. Nobody
like,
thought
hey,
about that, eh?
Hey, like you didn't give me that raise. All right, bet.
They went to Tony Staffieri. Yo, fuck you. Like, you're not giving me my bonus, my stock options. All right, let's plot against you. I think that's what happened, bro.
Oh man. With the whole Rogers outage, all the corporations, the companies right now, and their status, I think from this outage, I think a lot of people are starting to, gain more attention in terms of like how, these companies operate in these type of situations, or starting to acknowledge that, damn, like they got more power than we thought, or we didn't know that they would have so much relations with these other companies. Again, the Rogers Interact, that was a shocking revelation to a lot of people. So I think for me, what I took away is just like, I just gotta stay on my P's and Q's because anything could possibly happen. Like I said, something could change in a matter of months. I know, like, recently been hearing about a possible recession, like a moderate, short-lived recession coming up. I know RBC, like, they've been talking about how interest rates are gonna spike. I think even recently they talked about how the interest rate kind of piked up to like 2.5%. So like now we just dealt with this outage, now a possible recession. So it's just making sure that for anyone listening, that you're staying alert. If you're staying alert, if you're seeing stuff like that, do your research, check your sources. Like I mentioned before, information literacy, it's so key. If you're able to take that information, apply it, in a truthful manner, I think it's great. Because again, fake news it's so easy to detect once like if you check sources all the time. But if you don't, it can get lost under the shuffle, and it could be propaganda, and you might get really confused really fast. So I want to say things are going to change, and I do believe it's going to change, but I think if in terms of an overall landscape, I don't think it's going to like shift that much in terms of like, oh, like customer like appreciation, or I guess like trying to keep customers happy. I feel it would just be more of, if the situation kind of plays out, we're like, okay, we're in a tough situation, then yeah, we'll keep improving our services and stuff, because like that's what they're gonna have to do as a business. You got to keep improving, so that way you're maximizing that bottom line, of course. But in terms of like really ensuring that the customer loyalty is intact, or making sure that the customer is getting the best out of the services, it probably will stay the same, or like probably will have its small minor changes here and then. But that's what I personally think. I guess maybe it's just me not harping on it that much, because it's just like, again, I only have Rogers as a third party provider, so like for me, they don't mean shit to me. They don't mean shit to me at the moment. But I don't know, maybe if you're an actual Rogers user and maybe you're hoping for something to change in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't affected by it, so like I really don't feel that much pain. For me, it's just like life is normal. But I just know for sure that a lot of people are not gonna switch. People like fake outrage, right? Like people are like truly outraged, but they're not that outraged to go do something. Oh, I'm switching everything to Rogers immediately. Once that thing came on, they got their lives back together. It's just kind of like, okay, I mean, fine, it's back. All right, cool. Let me assess my options. They forget to assess their options, and they go back to their regular lives, man. That's it.
All right.
Yeah, I think that there is truth in that. But I think the people that are looking to, once the people are ready to buy new internet, and they have Rogers versus Bell, they're going Bell. You know what I'm saying? That's where I think they're going to lose the most money, is the new people that are about to buy internet, That's where they're going to have a tough time convincing people that they're the most reliable network, or whatever their phrase is, So we'll see what the future holds. Rogers, unfortunately, has been struggling in several different capacities. Their media companies have been dying. Like, nobody watches or nobody reads a Rogers magazine now. No one's partaking in Rogers cable. You know what I'm saying? So now that the network is falling apart, you might be seeing like the tip of the iceberg of the changing of Rogers, the billion-dollar company. Like when we saw BlackBerry fall under iPhone, this might be that pivotal moment for Rogers. So we'll see what the future holds, though. Rogers has a lot of smart people in the company. Hopefully, this don't let them go.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, I think that's everything we've kind of covered. I don't know if you guys have like any final things, or we can just wrap this up, because I know you guys have a very busy day tomorrow. I believe, is it tomorrow, or is it on the 16th?
Tomorrow, bro.
We are going to be at the Black Market Business Conference. This is a conference in Scarborough at Centennial College, 937 Progress Avenue. So we'll be interviewing other entrepreneurs, other Black entrepreneurs, and just getting their story, their tips, their tactics. So should be a vibe.
All right.
Yeah. Come through, but you should come through. It should be about bigger business casual. You know what I'm
Is
saying?
it free or I need to get a ticket?
It's $20.
Okay. All right, not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not bad. Sounds good.
All
Sounds
right,
good,
cool.
man.
But Alex, Owen, thank you so much for being on this episode of The Safe Room, the 75th episode too. Like this is a special moment. I want you
75th,
guys
bro.
to like take this in. You guys are the lucky guests to be on this 75th episode. So I really appreciate it. It's such an honor. You guys are, both of you are amazing. You guys are just great to talk with. You know, I love the conversation we just had. It's just, I'm just so happy. Like I really am. It's been a long day, and I
Respects,
needed
bro.
this.
Yeah. Same, man. You know, as I was looking forward to this, and we know you've been we've been in contact for a while now, so I'm happy that we finally got to do something together. And you know, it was a great conversation, man. So thanks for facilitating this and making it happen.
I appreciate you for having me on.
All
man.
right. So where can everyone find you on social media?
You can find us at 24/7 Hustler on Instagram, 24/7 Hustlers on Twitter, 24/7 Hustler on TikTok, and the podcast. You can just search up Hustle Over, and you'll see two black guys pop up, and that's us.
All right. All right.
as that.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for listening to The Safe Room. You can follow me on Instagram at The Safe Room Official. It's just Instagram. I'm not a Twitter guy either. I mean, I started, but then I realized, yeah, you know what, this ain't my field. I can't deal with the toxicity because some of y'all on Twitter be wildin', like real wildin'. So, just Instagram. You can check out my website at www.thesaferoompodcast.com. Trying to make some changes there, so stay on tuned for that. And also, guys, I'm gonna keep saying this until the wheels fall off. The intro track and the outro track for my podcast, that is recorded by yours truly. Yes, I have a theme song by me, for me. It's called First Lady on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever streaming platform. Go take a listen, all right? Because this is probably the one and only song I'll ever do for myself because I'm not an artist like that. So go check it out. Go take a listen. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to sign out. Once again, thanks to Alex and Owen for being part of the Safe Room tonight. And we'll see you guys next time.
And peace out, everyone. Have a great weekend.